Vi, because they're really trading Sejuani and Gragas here. And there they go. They do ban the Urgot and the Gragas.
Perfect. So here's the thing as well. I feel like Cloud9 needs to win champion select to win the game altogether.
Okay, Sejuani banned from TSM, Gragas banned. So they actually start banning out junglers here. And the Nautilus comes up. So they first pick that. But that's pretty clearly a support Nautilus pick. And the John is available this time.
You're going to have to play better. TSM right now is just getting all the advantages they want.
So this should just, TSM just takes Nunu, right?
Gragas and Sedge are the two main power junglers on this patch for these two teams. Therefore, Team Solomon had to drop one of their bans, which unlocks Elimination to play on. It's really nice stuff here.
Actually, this is smart. This is actually really smart by TSM. So, because Nautilus was first picked, and they know this is going to be support unless they try a jungle, and like Nautilus really is terrible in the jungle. They know that they can't pick Morgana to deal with the Vi right now.
No. They've been able to just sit back on Sedge and Gragas.
So they're able to take this. They can't take Janna, they can't take Morgana to deal with the Vi, so they can actually just create picks. So now if TSM, if they play something like LeBlanc, that'd be really good. They can play Ahri again. I think Cloud9 has to take Sivir. You have to be really worried about TSM taking Sivir with Vi and Maokai. So I would take Sivir here. And Zac, okay, good. And then TSM, so they have some good engage with Zac. They could take Kalista here. Kalista Kennen, yep, so more engage. And then do they take LeBlanc? I would take LeBlanc as the last pick.
No Janna today. Or less boy. His Kennen has been so effective. And hopefully it
goes back to his...
Okay, so Vlad is up as well, but they're going to take top lane Vlad. I think mid Vlad is better personally, but top lane Vlad can work if you have enough initiation, which they do with Sivir, Zac, and Nautilus. That shouldn't be an issue. Also, they're setting up for a 1-3-1 split push here with Zed and Vladimir. So they're trying to win the game via split pushing, and TSM isn't going to have a great answer to that with Maokai, presumably. Less likely to play LeBlanc into Zed, though. That's like a skill matchup. So I'd be interested to see what he takes.
What do? What will? They gotta go with something
okay.
In the mid lane, so High can assassinate it. Silence as well.
Cho'Gath, that's really good, actually.
This is a smart pick here for Bjergsen.
So they have enough engage also. They have enough engage already, especially since they picked Kalista and Kennen, that you can follow up right here. And Cho'Gath is... I mean, basically, you can't do anything during Deathmark if he hits you with Silence. It radically cuts the damage from Zed. And he also can't escape either, because he can't use his Living Shadow if he gets in range. So he pretty much just has to avoid Bjergsen. And he's not going to be able to kill Bjergsen either. And if he goes in, he's going to get Kennen stunned. Ooh, this is rough. High's champion pool really hurts him this series. He can't play a lot of standard stuff. The fact that he doesn't play LeBlanc is actually huge in the course of this series.
CC from the support jungle role, damage from everybody else. And it puts them in a comfort zone, hopefully, against TSM, who is now moved off of...
Cho'Gath is super strong, because if you think about Cho'Gath's weaknesses is he can't engage, right? He's crap, he could be kited in that way. But if you have enough other engage that he can actually use Rupture to follow up and then get in range for a W, for the Feral Scream, and then silence everybody, he's really strong. But you have to build compositions that work well around him. He's not a champion that you can pick into every situation.
Much of a factor will Santorin on Vi as well.
That's right, we got two different junglers coming in for the entire series now.
It's a pretty big factor already. Look at those recall animations.
Absolutely dancing around.
So if Cloud9 can get enough of a gold lead, that's the thing about the split pushing comps these days, is that you need Zed to get pretty far ahead so that he can like one-shot a carry. He only has one target in this game, which is Turtle also, and there's a targeted stun that's going to be coming down on him, and Lustboy has Exhaust, and he can't kill Bjergsen. So this is a pretty shit comp to run Zed into, honestly, that TSM has a lot of opportunity to deal with it. So Hai is going to have to be very clever about skirting the outside of the fights in order to get an assassination off, if he can even get one at all. But basically when you run Zed, I think the reason why other regions don't really run Zed, I mean we almost never see Zed in Korea, is that you have to get ahead through split push, and in the way the towers are currently, it's incredibly unlikely that you can split push your way to an inhibitor. Unless you're C9 in the last game, but that was a special circumstance, right? Where the TSM like got surprised by it and didn't play it out right. But it's really, you can't rely on it to win a game. So effectively, eventually, you're going to have to team fight as 5. So you have to have a Zed that's ahead so he can one-shot somebody. God, we're just going to see lane swaps every game. We're literally seeing the same lane swap 4 games in a row. He ignited him. Nautilus is such a bitch in terms of early damage, too. Because he can just CC you and make you take more damage from the jungle creeps. And he just spams Riptide, that E. It's like, what, 5-6 second cooldown?
Repeats again. Can the same thing happen over here? No! It's actually Hai who already came out. A flash goes down, and they know that's enough to return and hit that lane later. They're not going to try to pressure it.
As he comes right back,
so what I don't get is that C9, I think, has been on the losing end of pretty much all these lane swaps so far, and they keep trying to do it. I wish we had seen like a 2v2 and a 1v1 in this series.
Help them take at least 2 camps during the double jungle, whereas Santorin still sitting on level 1.
People are saying Bjerg got the Raptors. Yeah, I believe you, because they have a Maokai, so they probably just set that up with saplings. I wasn't watching that. I was watching the other stuff.
Santorin can get through this jungle. Definitely been able to fix all the problems that any LCS player.
Vladimir's also really shit in a lane swap, which is another reason why I don't like him top, because he is really bad at farming under turret, and until you get 4 or 5 ranks in Q, like level 9 is the spot where Vladimir really starts to be scary, because he'll have Woda, he can sustain better, he can clear waves at that point, but when you're maxing Q, you just can't, your cooldown is so long that you take very unfavorable trades. So
doesn't look like it. The wave is actually being frozen against him properly this time, so Dyrus should be denied.
Balls will get experience here, but it's dangerous. Could be. Oh no, he's getting denied too. Never mind. He has to back off. Why does no one play Shyvana in this series? If any team played Shyvana during these lane swaps who was actually having Smite and able to clear out some of these camps, I think they would have gotten a crazy good advantage.
He wants to stay very much ahead of Santorin here. No chance to come back. Hai is already back, brings 2 long swords to the lane now, 24 to 22. Looks like Santorin's actually going to be staying here now, so Hai some good trade damage now. Real armor for Bjerg.
Pretty good start, all things told, for Cloud9. Nice early jungle harass. The jungle upgrade from Meteos first. Hai sticking with Bjerg's early, and the threat of supporter jungler gank is diminished because Lustboy's flash was burned during harassment, and Santorin...
Okay, well they're still just double jungling. Meanwhile, Dyrus is sticking in lane this entire time, so that's kind of been the sequence of events that we see so far. Hai has had pressure at the very least, so Meteos is able to go in and take away the blue buff, and then we'll see if they want to go for a dragon. Dyrus actually recalling right now while the wave is back. C9 can transition here into a dragon if they want to, especially since they know that Lustboy's flash is not available. That's what they're going to do. This is a bit greedy. You know, they know Dyrus is back, but he does have TP, and they're freezing while simultaneously going for the dragon. That could cause some problems, but looks like it won't.
Big wave hitting the turret up top for Cloud9. They're going to give that up in order to get the dragon up.
So what C9 should do now is, if this turret actually remains standing, because they're freezing this lane in the bottom side, they should just hand that over to Balls afterwards, because he currently has 0 CS, and then transfer their duo lane into top side, so that, considering there's no objective on the bottom side of the map right now. You can't really gank with Vlad either, which is another. He has no crowd control, so he's pretty shit in lane swaps. I just, you can make Vlad top work. I just, wow. Wow, look at this Vlad doing nothing.
But no follow-up damage after everything has been expended. Lemonation puts himself in a very bad situation. The anchor toss will come back up quicker with hitting that terrain, but I don't think he's going to be able to get out. He was in a bad spot, and the nation puts himself in. This is the
Okay, so
On their side,
Lustboy's still in the top side,
the bottom lane, 'cause it looks like
and instead of trying to set this play up by recalling or anything like that, High, who's already very low with no sustain, just chugs a pot right now. Then you see the setup right here, but Bjergsen gets the silence down, so High cannot get away from the rupture. I mean, Bjergsen plays this trade really well, and he also hits 6 before High does. Notice that he hits 6 right now. Oops. So at this point, Bjergsen uses the flash to move forward, gets the ignite down as well. Meanwhile, High does not ignite Bjergsen, but High has to flash because otherwise he dies to feast. Ignite. And then Meteos comes in, but misses the knockup. There's Chilling Smite going down. But Dyrus is already here because they don't have any wards. This is another play that C9 makes aggressively in the mid lane. How many times over the course of the series have we seen C9 try and make an aggressive play when they don't know where several members of the enemy team are? Meanwhile, Lemonation is just like chilling up here in the jungle. Like, what is Lemonation even doing? All he has is a trinket ward, while his team is trying to make a play on the mid lane with no information. Let me get this straight, C9. You send your Vlad, but you don't send your Nautilus? Yeah, who needs that early crowd control for the ganks? Overrated. Bjergsen's skill shots on Cho are really good, though. Nautilus is here to die.
Will come back up quicker with hitting that terrain, but I don't think he's going to be able to get out. He was in a bad spot, and the error calculated by Team Solo Mid.
pretty big error there by Lemonation. That's the second poor flash he has had in this series.
You know TSM is going to... I don't even get it. You know TSM is going to play around the mid lane. How many times have they done that mid lane garbage in the lane swap in this series? TSM is actually very predictable in this way, right? We've seen them try and pull off that same gank or counter gank like 4 times now, but C9 walks into it every single time. Every time.
5 CS, 7 minutes into the game, but to have that first blood kill puts him a good 600 gold ahead of Balls' Vladimir at this point in the game.
What a collapse there by TSM. Their communication is definitely on point where it seems it took a few seconds.
Oh god. See, and the other thing too about this lane swap situation is that C9 needs Vlad and Zed to hit their power spikes at the same time so they can split push evenly. And now Vlad's going to be behind the Zed. So what do you even do? It's going to take you so long to develop a split push here. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Pretty much nothing. They just kind of appeared in the mid lane. Bjergsen landed all of his skill shots.
I mean, CLG tried this with, what, TF Vlad? It was still bad. This kind of 1-3-1 split push with Vlad is just, I'm not a fan. It's good with Hecarim.
These lanes are matched back up, so Balls and Dyrus are going to be able to farm themselves quite nicely. And that is big for Balls, as he was pretty much getting nothing in the beginning of this game. Still paying attention to how Cloud9 is taking these buffs. So far hasn't really impacted the game. Bjergsen still was able to get something out of the game. C9 is kind of fighting their own battles that aren't giving them results just yet.
And already they have to come back from behind.
Okay, well...
To their credit, but 2,000 gold lead 8 minutes in is actually rather large. Ballista Cannon as well has a lot of kill threat. If Lustboy can get experience, he's level 3 on Cannon. So, not worried about...
Look at this, too. He's able to freeze.
They have to come back from
There's nothing he can do.
Get something out of mid lane.
In top. Just pushes there. Dyrus just catches the wave and he tanks it with his face until it freezes.
Come back from behind.
And then what does he get? What is he gonna do now?
They did in game 1 to their credit, but a 2,000 gold lead 8 minutes in is actually rather large. Ballista Cannon as well has a lot of kill threat. If Lustboy can get experience, he's level 3 on kill.
I just don't understand why anybody gets this combination of Kalista and Kennen. It's so strong.
But no, the supports, they've been roaming all day.
It's so strong. It's stupidly strong.
What will be the play in the bottom lane? Lemon Nation walks away for just a second and cannot be continued by Sneaky as he wants to wear those Ren stacks off before heading back into the fight. Smartly done as well. Not too many core items coming out, just the first of recipes around the map as well. We have swords for the 80 carries, that Cutlass, and Fiendish Codex for the mid laners. There's a great trade.
Yeah, nice little trade back there by Cloud9. Revenge for Wild Turtle's damage on Sneaky. This time
Good times watching lane farming.
to a fight safely.
But TSM perfectly comfortable here. All they have to do is avoid the split pushing. The fact that Maokai ahead is absolutely huge to shut down the 1-3-1 that Cloud9 wants to execute. And then just wait it out. They weather the storm here. They can win every 5v5 without making huge errors as long as they have even gold. As long as they have even gold or ahead in gold, the 5v5 should be no problem. So this next dragon should actually be pretty relevant. They lose a turret here, but Dyrus is going to walk into
Those
mid.
guys are tanky enough that if High gets in range for a Maokai W, he would die.
Point, he definitely has to be careful. Lane for a bit of pressure.
Yeah,
Not really
pretty much
getting
just waiting for this dragon. But C9 can't fight it. If they're smart, they just leave this one alone and try and split push and get some turret damage. They're probably not going to be able to take a turret in the top side, but it is extremely important that this Vlad gets some items. It's the most important thing for C9 right now, is this Vladimir coming back into this game.
Yeah.
Is the righteous glory rather than the rod of ages?
It's weird. You don't think it'll work the same, and you're like, wow, this is actually really great.
Really fast and super tanky.
All right, so good pressure here in the mid. I like that Bjergsen has turned off those Vorpal spikes to make sure he doesn't grab any silly aggro as it
High's in trouble
flies
here.
by.
Shadow down and Rupture
Oh,
lands.
Rupture does hit right after Shadow comes, but they also know it's a little too quiet here on the home front. Maybe not. Bjergsen wants to go in.
That was bad.
He bounces around from
Too aggressive right before this dragon comes up. You don't have to do that at all. You just have to keep pushing.
Cloud9 still a little bit dangerous. High flash back.
Whoa! All the way back to High. That's going to be the hit out as well. Fate's call. Chucks Lustboy back in. He's going to die throwing down Flash and exhausted. That
Whoa.
one.
Ew.
But finding a bit of what
Balls.
they want here. 2 kills already. And Balls was almost in the wrong.
That's a little bit too aggressive from TSM, but they got a couple kills for it. It worked out. Sneaky wasn't there, but it's a bit crazy. Santorin has no mana now either,
Nope. Thought he was going to fizzle out.
May as well just take the dragon.
Might as
but
well.
Balls used his port, so there's nothing. I don't even understand why you would port there.
Start putting on the damage. Almost
I mean, to save your allies, sure, as they try and dive between the turrets, but
They got a big wave. Cloud9 still a little bit dangerous. High flash.
oh man,
Whoa, all the way back.
that port's really late too. Look how late it is. They're already engaging between the turrets.
High. That's going to be the hit.
That is so late. That's such a late port. Because right now they've already done the damage, right?
Chucks Lustboy back in. He's gonna die.
Oh man, now they're down port too. Oh, Dyrus ports in also.
They want here 2 kills already, and Balls was almost in the wrong spot there at the right time for TSM.
2-for-1 trade and the turret there. Sneaky was trying to farm off the bottom lane. Now trying to come in on the backside of this fight. He's got to be incredibly careful.
Nope, thought he was gonna fizzle out.
May as well just take the dragon.
Might as well. So Cloud9 definitely has to start putting on the damage control. Things are not.
But even if Vlad had come in earlier, it's pretty optimistic to think he would have been able to do much of anything at all at this point in the game with the items that he has.
Tip of their tongue
He's going
here.
to try a steal against Callista. Really hard to do.
Flew right over. Let's bounces down from that last engage. Remember, cannot get the
Yeah,
slow on.
at least they got a flash out of it, I suppose.
Cloud9's in a really tough spot here. Down turrets, down kills, even the dragons. Down in the series, knowing they have to win both this game and the next if they want to take the crown here in North America. Slight desperation mode might kick in for Cloud9. when that's kicked in so far this series.
Just evening up in towers right now. It's so hard for C9 to take a hold of this series at this point. And you know, once Wild Turtle gets QSS, it's just incredibly over. Because he'll QSS the Death Mark, even if it isn't even silenced. He should be able to stay out of range of Sivir and just kite, and then Vlad and the other magic damage sources are just not going to be able to do very much. C9's doing well at taking these outers, though. TSM recalled at a pretty awkward time. I mean, they wanted to recall after they get the dragon, right? So dragon goes down. I'm going to speed this up for just a second. Right, so they... So C9 actually chunked them out at the end of that dragon and delayed the recall so they could take 2 towers. That was a good reaction considering the dive in the mid lane, and TSM took a lot of damage from that as well. I think that actually, if TSM hadn't attempted that dive in the mid lane, they would have been able to get that turret anyway, and High was already sort of chunked out, and then fought at the dragon, won that fight, and then they wouldn't have lost 2 turrets. So I really think that dive was unnecessary.
Desperation mode for Cloud9 is a very dark place. You do not want to go there as Cloud9. They overcommit, their smart play goes out the window. They need to remain controlled here. The 5-man push up the mid lane during recalls was smart. They do not need to turret dive. They just need to continue to trade objectives like Cloud9 did in their Game 1 victory. Dark Cloud9.
So now, Dyrus working on this bottom tier, still with a huge CS lead. This Vlad is so screwed.
Dyrus is going to be able to trade here in the bottom as he gets that righteous glory built up safely. Both teams are going to back. Oh, just take him down. He got big fists. 73 to 47 is out of that top lane, though. So definitely a pretty big disparity.
He wants to deny some CS, but the cannon lives. Most likely.
That one time when you were like, minions don't be...
And Vlad's already heading topside too. I mean, they've got nothing down here to take this away. They're just trying to push, and it's really scary for him. Yeah, he's got a ward here, and they have access to the crab, but he has to be really worried about what's going on. And the bottom wave is just going to be taken by Sneaky. Sneaky doesn't need this farm. He does not need this farm. They have to get farm onto their split pushers. Okay, good. He's moving into mid. That's going to go to Zed. This is a much better call.
A couple of things coming into the series we thought might hinge at Bjergsen and his ability to shut down High. Well, he has in most of these games, and Bjergsen's been an absolute force to be reckoned with in the mid game or the late game. And
so it looks like it's pushing back out towards balls now, so he is actually going to be able to pick up some farm off of this and slowly deal with the wave. But TSM has that chance because there's no pressure coming in from Cloud9 just to move into the jungle right now and threaten a dive. High needs two core items as well. And you'll notice too that Balls actually, while it was pushing towards him, as soon as TSM went into this bottom side jungle, immediately the pressure starts coming up here. He starts pushing to force Dyrus up into the top side. He'll have TP up sooner. Not like a TP Vlad is particularly scary, but C9 could, in theory, make a play in about 15 seconds. And TSM, very smart to back out right now. Dyrus should have the TP timer on Balls. You'll notice they back out right as the TP comes up, and Dyrus is just going to catch that farm. This is absolutely the right play. Put some pressure on, see if you can get anything right there. But as soon as it could be reversed by Balls TPing in, you don't even take that risk. Dyrus will be able to safely farm up here, wait for an actual advantage to develop. It's very, very good. Very good from TSM to back out during that window. And just wait for them to actually have that 5v5. Because they don't have to fight. They know they can scale. They don't have to be aggressive right now. They want the 5v5s anyway. And C9 has that advantage if they have a 4v5 due to the assassination threat from Zed.
Cinder Hulk on by. Cho'Gath, very, very strong man. Unless you get in the Burn of Silence, he can wait for the Death Mark to silence you. Bloodthirster on Wild Turtle for the extra shield, and Kennen can ult himself to stun Zed when he goes in.
So they're going to make another attempt. Now that, see, look, they come back, they recall, come back, start setting up for Dragon because they still have pressure on this bottom side. Now Dyrus has TP. Now they want to dive. This is the right timing. Good setup.
Maybe just ulted in a side lane. Dead.
Everybody coming in for the fight here. Look at Bjergsen has even chugged a sorcery or elixir 16 minutes into the game to add more damage to his Cho'Gath this time. Last time it was the Kog'Maw, but...
Also, Ball's TP was interrupted, I believe, by Dyrus.
Make sure the points of spiking in their damage is right now.
It's getting to a point where Bjergsen's just going to hit level 9 and go buy an elixir. At this point, he's building it earlier in every game. The spike the TSM wants in power. This time, after just a Morellonomicon and a Seekers, he goes for it. But they end up getting a kill, and now they have an odd man fight. Down bottom, more turns.
Wow. Really seeing that each game so far. Obviously, this game has a lot to go, but games 2 and 3, games that TSM used to calibrate what they were doing, get the organization together. A very textbook start and roll to this game. 18 minutes in, 5K goal.
I don't know. I think the story of this series for C9 has been they've been picking compositions that aren't very versatile. They either have a very specific timing window, or they can really only be played if the split push gets an advantage. Whereas TSM, they have comps that can be used in a variety of ways that are strong in terms of their scaling. C9 is just, they can't play very well, I don't think, on this patch. And by taking the Vlad, and I would have just given the Vlad to Hai in this game. I don't know if Hai plays Vlad, but you'd think that a safe mid laner like that, where he would be able to scale, would be fine. He's got to be tanky, doesn't require insane mechanics. He can sit back in lane and just farm.
Dyrus will be the one coming in here, so it looks like they may just have to give this one up again. They're warding it to show that they actually want to put some control on that area. Hopefully it buys them enough time for Balls to get back out here, but it looks like he is actually...
I don't know, Hai is such an interesting player because he legitimately is one of... I would put him within like the top 5 shot callers in the world. I mean, he can get you back into games, that's for sure, but... It's just unfortunate that his individual play doesn't match up with his ability to call strategy on the fly.
Especially with Bjergsen's Cho'Gath and the tank Vi to just fly in and set up an easy rupture. It's just objective trading through and through. But yeah, it's completely forfeit there by Connor.
Yeah, we saw Elimination was already going toward Baron, making sure they have the ladder objectives covered to let this one go. They don't need to fall any farther behind here. Too much of a risk. 5-1
It's nothing they can do.
Actually, third dragon of the game picked up.
The Zed has died 3 times. He's been delayed so much alongside the Vladimir. TSM recognized that if they put these 2 champions behind, there was never any threat. Because by the time that Zed and Vlad get big in this game, TSM is going to be way too tanky to deal with and just be able to force down objectives by diving. So the split push is just going to instantly fail. As long as they group up, they should just be able to take C9 to town.
Does not kill that many people late game. If it gets late game, Cloud9 could take this, but it has to get to 40 minutes somehow without the gold lead being greater than 10,000,
right,
and without TSM having 5 dragons.
Well, another 5,000 gold is what TSM is looking for right now. Nobody's going to throw a loan at them, so they have to get it themselves. Over here, Balls could be a bit of that funding. Looks like he's able to pull himself to safety here. So TSM starting to work the aggression around the map, getting any picks that they can, and the turrets are going to fall shortly here as Cloud9 is, I believe, going to start just using everything in defense to dodge.
It's not so easy just to replace the shot caller, guys. You can't just teach somebody to shot call. The ability to think on the fly that well while playing the game is, I'm not sure that's a skill that can be taught to the degree that Hai has it. Obviously it can be taught somewhat, but thinking that quickly and having a good intuitive sense about where to put pressure, where to assign people in lanes, which objective to take, it's like the hardest thing to do. You can't just take some mechanical god and teach them that, right? Or it would take a really, really long time. Hai is just very talented in that particular area.
Really solid play by TSM. Yep. Really just controlling the rotations. 5 turrets to 3. hoping to continue that pressure, get a 6th, get all the outer turrets down, then they can start pressuring Baron, and they can take Dragon on respawn. That's the plan for TSM. If they want to win their 3rd game in a row, get another reverse sweep on their opponent. Semifinals against Team Impulse, they lost the first game.
That said, I do think that Cloud9, I don't see them beating TSM as long as they continue to have high. Just because I think that Cloud9 has hit their skill ceiling with their current roster. They're really a known quantity at this point. And so this is pretty much about as good as they're going to get.
Especially for Lost Boy, if you're getting banned out consistently, stays with the Kennen. And listed 2 games in a row.
So I think you have to make a change on C9 right now in order, if you want to, now I think C9 in their current form can still take top 3 extremely reliably in NA, but if you want to win NA against TSM and you want to go to, you want to be competitive internationally, I think you have to make a change. And it may be worse, it may be for the worse, but it's certainly not going to get better than it is right now. Holy shit.
I was gonna say he's getting
hilarious.
Side of Cloud9. Hello. Oh my word. Whoa. Really hard to get away.
Oh, that's gonna sound funny and slow.
Especially without having super hard crowd control. Side of Cloud9. Hello. Oh my word. I was gonna say he's getting dinner, but that would look like
I've said it before and I'll say it again, but good lord, Bjergsen is crushing right now.
I was gonna say get a lot. Showing that it's something they hadn't thought about in these. It's like that Runons is finished up on.
The TSM has done a fantastic job of controlling this Zed.
Especially without
He just can't do anything. He can't split push. He can't farm past like his tier 1s or his tier 1 remains at all. And he keeps getting dove or punished whenever he walks up.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, but good lord, Bjergsen is crushing right now. One rupture, instantly dead.
It's bad.
Ignite.
When you wins. That hurt me. Wow. Bjergsen, no matter what champion he is on, he's ready to flash flow forward and make instant plays. Lucidity while allowing him to keep spitting out that crowd control in silence. And it has picked him up another kill. Now over to Baron. This is pretty much uncontested. However, here's the teleport.
Here we go.
They're going for broke.
It's the Vlad port. Go Vlad.
Only a 2-man Hemo Plague actually going down on that. Good damage over to Turtle. Bjergsen's very hurt here. Lust Boy and Turtle. 400 HP just flashes over.
Oh, snap.
Easily be finished off if somebody focuses their tunnel down to Dyrus. Oh, how does he pop? Sneaky before he gets out. They're gonna walk this one.
Go, 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 go.
Bringing them over to Lust Boy, and Lust Boy is saying, "No, you do that to me." What a hit! Gets Meteos on the slingshot over the wall. He's eventually gonna go.
Oh, they got to kill into Zed. That's pretty important. So Vlad, remember that Baron has all that magic shred, right? So Vlad can actually do a lot of damage to you with his AoE in this particular situation. What ults do we have? Oh, Feast isn't up right now. There's the Slicing Maelstrom. So Balls actually flashes in. And he gets the Hemo Plague. This is, I mean, the extra damage you're getting from this, though, is pretty huge. Because it's, what, 12% extra damage from Hemo Plague? And Baron's attacking TSM as well. Yeah, Vlad is one of the best champions you can have. I mean, he's like Oriana or some of these other champions. Or if you can catch somebody in Baron Pit, you can absolutely slaughter them once they get all that MR shred onto them. But yeah, also the delayed port, because Dyrus, it was technically a 4v4 because Dyrus wasn't there. And they didn't know that the TP was coming in.
3-minute Baron, TSM actually takes a fair bit of
Dyrus got super greedy.
damage here.
And look at this. He also TPs in way beyond the team fight.
Early.
Only a 2-man.
So it's pretty easy, actually, to keep them locked up with the crowd control. I mean, by the time that Dyrus gets there, their carry's already dead, and everybody else is chunked out. Really, really greedy on the farm. That's Dyrus, again, not a great port. He looked better in this series than he did against Impulse, where like all of his ports pretty much were pretty bad. That one's real bad, too. Very slow response. There's no reason to be that greedy there either, because you just close out the game. Who cares? Just create a slow push, kill a few of the minions, get the Baron, and then clear out that wave on the other side. High is dead. There's no split pushing threat here. Let's look at the decision making. There's no reason to let Cloud9 back in this game. So he's pushing right here. You see the Vlad. Okay, you don't have wards. Fine. You clear out this wave, and you have to keep an eye on this Baron because you know it's going down. Even if the Vlad stays, who gives a fuck? You have such an advantage that this Vlad... Okay, let's say he stays and starts putting pressure down onto this turret. Well then, lose a tower. You kill the Baron, ensure that you get the Baron, and then use the Empowered Recall to get back with Home Guard boots. Right? Go back, Baron, Home Guard, into lane. So that means that they can't possibly make a play right here. You also know that the Vlad has TP. There's no possibility of the split push coming in from high either. And you have control over this side of the map. Also, to be fair, it is TSM's fault that they don't have a ward here for him to TP to. He shouldn't have to TP to this ward or to this ward. There should be some ward like here that he needs to TP to.
23-minute Baron, TSM actually takes a fair bit of damage here. Elimination goes really early.
Only a 2-man Hemo Plague actually going down on that. Good damage over to Turtle.
But you have to respect C9's decisiveness in that situation. C9 is willing to take a risk from behind, which is how you get back in.
He's eventually going to go down, but he is completely buying time for the team, and Cloud9 is going to get hardly anything with TSM being down here.
TSM overestimates their ability to do Baron by far right there. 22 minutes does not fall very quickly. Bjergsen also was completely out of summoner spells before that fight. Therefore, when Cloud9 comes in, they destroyed them. Meteos gets off a Dream Ultimate, and Sneaky gets best case scenario fight. Not a Cho'Gath that can flash or feast you at any point. No cannon ultimate on Sneaky. Meteos is bouncing around. Sneaky is free hitting in the back because of no Dyrus until later on in the fight, and they were a sliver away from acing TSM right there. If they picked off those two other guys. A horrendous call there by TSM to go for Baron. They had 6 turns. They just had to wait for the Dragons to come up.
No, they could. I think TSM, the call was correct. It's just the execution was poor. They had a 5v4. Just Dyrus was in the bottom lane. You can't be afraid to give up a turret in that situation for the Baron. The Baron will win you the game. The turret, it doesn't matter. And they're not going to get an inhibitor because you'll take the Baron, 4-second recall, and then Home Guard to fix the problem.
4-7 on the scoreboard as they start to scratch back without letting TSM get too much along the way. Way to the Room King and Last Whisper now finished up here for high. He's going to be able to start cutting through some of these tanks. They got to some very early items on Team Sullivan. Bjergsen's looking for his 3rd already. 25 minutes into the game.
Death cap goes down on a Bjergsen.
It's only 500 more gold.
It was already one shot.
One shot the guy you want to stay alive. The guy who wants to one-shot your team. And High is not able to do that right now. This one's going to be taken down. See where Bjergsen's at right now. He is at 6.
But nothing really bad happens besides they don't take the Baron. I mean, obviously it doesn't really matter for TSM. They still have a substantially stronger 5v5. C9 can't split push.
Because it is a bunch of tanks. Sivir can try and ricochet through them. Lifesteal up with the shield. He avoids the major spike damage. He could try and one-man carry this Cloud9 team. It's highly unlikely that that happens, but that is what Cloud9 needs to work towards.
Right now, they are trying to split it up. Split push is the name of the game here. High tends to the side waves. We already saw him try to pressure the bottom, but Cloud9 is lacking a bit of control on the map. It's just easily stopped every time by Team Sullivan right now. Maybe some forward wards, something for Cloud9 to really put themselves back in this game. What's the fastest way they stop bleeding?
Okay.
Shove out these waves and giving up dragons all the way until number 5. The hardest part about this, though, is maintaining vision control around the Baron area without TSM taking it with me. Therefore, it's really hard to avoid overall fights because there's soon to be a righteous Maokai and a Cho'Gath. I mean, we already saw what happened when Bjergsen got caught. Now Lemon gets caught. Maybe they get a nice corridor fight.
Twisted advance the pop-up. Nice let's bounce there from Meteos. The team
It's actually a good fight for C9 if they weren't so far behind.
Themselves into good positioning. Bjergsen, Lust Boy, and Wild Turtle all on the back line, able to fire forward here. Now moving into the fight. You gotta watch once the train is on the tracks. You better move. And here comes Bjergsen. The rupture goes up and just misses. Sneaky got off the tracks for sure.
Yeah, because if we look at the setup right here, you know, in theory, fighting this isn't so bad for C9, because if they get everybody in a corridor, they actually, especially now that Rupture is down, they can perhaps do something with this. Because of Sneaky, as long as he stays safe and can ricochet into the back, because Balls will be able to be pumping out damage if he Hemoplagues. Where's his Hemoplague? Where is it? There it is. So he gets the Hemoplague off. They have enough crowd control, and Hai, you can see, is getting on the periphery. And if Hai can find a target, if he can find Wild Turtle, they're going to be in a really good position. Meanwhile, Santorin and Dyrus really can't do anything. Santorin actually tries to ult Balls here, which is not great, actually, but he actually does enough burst damage that it's alright. But there's the pool again going through. And then he tries to find Wild Turtle here to prevent him from getting into the fight. I think C9 definitely had the better positioning, but they're also hugely down in terms of gold. And his Vlad is weak as hell. Yeah, the Hemo could have been better too. That's true. But the idea was good, and TSM fighting in that choke at that point in time could have gone wrong. But again, TSM played the strategy out better. If they knew that was the win condition here, that you get this Zed and you get this Vlad behind, and then they can't team fight at all, which is exactly what happened. You don't have to be perfect if you're TSM in that situation, because you've already outsmarted your opponent.
Strong fights coming from Team Solomid. This fight almost actually mirrored what we saw earlier. If Meteos is on this side with Sejuani, that's the fight that won Cloud9.
This Vlad is just ridiculously weak.
Except it just hits two there. They didn't get Bjergsen a Wild Turtle. That's the big thing. And position-wise, if we watch Sneaky, he's in a really good place right now. However, he's just not strong enough yet. He can't cut through the Ninja Tabi Frozen Heart of Dyrus. If he had Last Whisper, maybe he could, but that's only going to be in 1,000 gold. If the tank line would have gone down, then maybe Sneaky could have started doing something. But with the tank line in that corridor, until he crushes that down, they're not getting much. Now with Baron, it's too late because Sneaky finally has something left.
Indeed. Big damage to stay in. TSM now pressuring even harder with that Baron, now able to spread Cloud9 thin. Not the way they wanted it. They were hoping it was on their split push terms. They're going to have to defend the big.
Yeah, this is over. It's not just 8,000. You can't think of this gold lead as 8,000 gold. It's that C9 is fundamentally weaker in a team fight as well. C9 needs a gold advantage. They have to have like a 4 or 5k advantage to even remotely be able to team fight against TSM. So when we saw that 6k advantage earlier, it's deceptive because the actual power differential is much, much greater in favor of TSM. There's just nothing they can do. It's so easy for them to dive.
Yeah, and Bjergsen's level 16 right now, which means his ultimate does over 1,000 true damage. Cloud9 has to fight, but look out!
It's the go for broke here from Cloud9 on their front doorstep. They try one last time to stave off Team Solomid. They get the wave clear to make sure it has to be a tank of the turret. Now with that next wave coming in, TSM is able to start walking through. Remember, the bottom inhibitor's already down. Minions are going to start crashing in if this isn't the final push, and it's only going to get harder for Cloud9.
Yeah, it may prep the final push. Right. Though, Riv. 2 inhibitors in quick succession during the Baron buff. Damage from his feast. The
in his belly. That's
That
not
should
fun.
be it. And honestly, 3 pretty clean wins from TSM.
push while they still have the Baron buff.
This
That
is
C9 not
for the
looking
team
too
in the
great right
final
now.
game. This is the way to do it. Losing game 1, but being able to come back stronger and stronger throughout each game consecutively. Now game 3, it looks like TSM could have.
TSM is the best team in the West by a pretty significant margin right now. It's not really particularly close between them and anybody else, I don't think.
Wait for their minions, and Les Cloud9 over-engages. Here we go.
Oh, the over-engage indeed. Elimination on the outside gets bounced. Dyrus, he wants it. Dives in onto balls. The Sanguine Pool saves him just in the last second. The 1v1 to Bjergsen and High. The bite goes down, but High is alive, and Bjergsen dies to the turrets. Turtle now is the focus. Depth charge into anchor toss. They lock him down with the passive, but he is hopping around way too much on Callista. Turtle a double. Turtle a triple. Turtle a quadra. Could he be coming up with a penta? High stays on the fountain. The quadra kill once again to come up with Team Solo Mid's pip.
Alright, well,
2015.
very clean win from TSM. I particularly like Game 3. I think I like Velasquez and Santorin's control of the map in